Words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, Question and Answers of 1950-51, Volume 4, continuation of the topic started from page 357, now page 360, question by the Sadhak. Sweet Mother, how can one know whether the little dirty things have hidden themselves or have gone? For this, our Divine Mother says, one can always try little experiments. I have said that one must use a torch or a strong light, then one must take a round within one's own being. If one is very attentive, one can easily find these ugly corners. Suppose you have a beautiful experience that suddenly, in answer to your aspiration, a great light comes. You feel all flooded with joy, force, light, beauty, and have the impression that you are on the point of being transfigured. And then it passes away. It always passes away, doesn't it? Especially at the beginning. Suddenly it stops. Then you tell yourself, when you are not vigilant, there it came and it has gone. Poor me, it came and it has gone. It just gave me a taste of the thing and then left me fall. Well, that's foolish. What should you tell yourself is, look, I was not able to keep it. And why I was not able to keep it? Because you are not aware of it. You are not vigilant. So you take your torch and go on around within yourself, trying to find a close relation between the change of consciousness and the moments accompanying the cessation of the experience. And if you are very, very attentive and make your round very scrupulously, you will find that suddenly some part of the vital or some part of the mind or the body, something has not kept up. In this sense, that mentally, instead of being immobile and attentive, something has begun to ask, wait a minute, what is this experience? What does it mean? Begin to try and find an explanation, what it calls an understanding. Or maybe in the vital, something has begun to enjoy the experience. How pleasant it is. How would I like it to grow? How good if it were constant? How? Or something in the physical has said, oh, it is a bit hard to endure that. How long am I going to be able to keep it? It is perhaps not an obvious as all like this, but it is a wee bit hidden like this somewhere. And then our Divine Mother says, you will always find one of these three things or others analogous. Where is the egoism? It is there the lantern is needed. Where is the weak point? Where is the egoism? Where is the desire? Where is that old dirt we don't want any longer? Where is that thing which turns back upon itself instead of giving itself, opening itself, losing itself? Which turns back upon itself, trying to take advantage of what has happened, wants to appropriate to itself the fruit of the experience? Or rather, which is too weak, too hard, too rigid to be able to follow the moment? It is that you are now on track. You begin precisely to put the light you have just acquired upon it. It is that you must do. Focus on the light upon it. Turn it in such a way that the thing cannot resist. You won't be able to succeed the very first day. You must do it persistently, and little by little, or perhaps suddenly one day it will vanish. And then you will find out after a time that you are another person. But if you take the attitude I've already spoken about and throw the blame upon the grace and the light, if you say to yourself, there it has gone and left me in the lurch, you may be sure that even 30, 40, 50 years hence, you will still be at the same place. You will not have been changed. There will be always something which will rise suddenly and eat you up, your very own experience. And then, instead of progressing, you will be stuck there, marking time because you cannot advance. But if immediately you take the opportunity, note, sometimes it hurts a little. If you go and brutally put the light upon the thing which wants to enjoy the experience or wants to get knowledge or control the experience by a mental understanding, or is too lazy to make the necessary effort to receive the experience and bear it or change quickly enough, if you put the will with the light of consciousness upon this thing with firmness. It may hurt just a little. And you say, "Oh, not so fast. I need rest. I tried myself uselessly." Then everything has to be begun all over again. Sometimes days, even months, years will pass without its coming back. Sometimes, if you are a little more active and intense in your aspiration, it will return sooner. But if you commit the same stupidity again, the same thing will happen, and immediately you are very vigilant. And when the mind starts noising around to understand what is happening, you tell it, "Silence, keep quiet." Then the experience can continue. When the vital begins to say, "I want lots and lots and more," you say, "Quiet, quiet, don't move, calm yourself, don't get excited." Or when the physical being, "Oh, I shall be crushed, a little endurance." If you please, you are a coward. You don't know how to stand the test. If you manage to do this in time, with the necessary calmness, with the necessary determination, you will arrive at something. But if you are like that passive, indolent, fatalistic, and tell yourself, "And now I have surrendered myself, what will happen? What will happen? We will see what will happen, what is going to happen, that's all." Then you understand, I gave you 50 years not to change by half a step. In the last lesson, I told you it was not so easy. If you want to do it, you must do it properly. Otherwise, it is not worth the trouble. It is useless to do things by halves, or one must do them well. Of course, there are other roads. One simply not to try perfect himself. One must try to forget oneself in an ever more absorbing work. That is, do what one does as a consecration to the divine, altogether disinterestedly, but with a plenitude, self-giving, a total forgetfulness, no longer thinking about oneself, about what one is doing. You know this. I've already told you this. If you want to do something well, whatever it may be, any kind of work, the least thing, play a book, play a game, or write a book, or a music, or anything, you must just become what you're doing, not remain a small person looking at himself doing. Or if one looks at oneself acting, one is still in complexity with the ego. If one succeeds in becoming what one does, it is a great progress. In the least little details, one must learn. Take a very amusing instance. You want to fill a bottle of water from another bottle. You concentrate. Well, as long as you are the bottle to be filled, the bottle from which one pours, the moment of pouring, as long as you are only this, all goes well. But if unfortunately you think at the given moment, it is getting on, I am managing well, then next minute it spills. It is the same thing for everything. That is why work is good means of discipline, for if you want to do the work properly, you must work, become the work, instead of being someone who just watches over the work. Otherwise, you will never do it well. If you remain someone who works, besides, if your thoughts go vagabond, then you may be sure that if you are handling fragile things, they will break. If you are cooking, you will burn. If you are playing a game, you will miss. It is here that work is a great discipline. If truly you want to do it well, this is the only way. Take someone who's writing a book. He looks at himself writing the book. You can't imagine how dull the book will become. It smells immediately of a small human personality which is there. It loses all its value. A painter paints. If he observes himself painting the picture will never be good. It will be always be a kind of projection of painter's personality. It will be without life, without force, without beauty. But if all of a sudden he becomes the thing he wants to express, if he becomes the brush, the painting, the canvas, the image, the colors, the whole thing is entirely inside, it lives and it makes something magnificent. For everything, it is the same. There is nothing which cannot be a yogic discipline if one does it properly. And if it is not done properly, even tapasya will be of no use and will lead you nowhere. For it is the same thing. If you do your tapasya all the time observing yourself, telling yourself, am I making any progress? Is it going to be better? Am I going to succeed? Then it is your ego, which becomes more and more enormous, occupies the whole place, and there is no room for anything. And we said the other day, spiritual ego is the worst of all. For it is altogether unconscious of its inferiority. It is convinced it is something very superior. It is absolutely not divine. There we are. You are at the school. You must become with a concentration which tries to catch what the teacher is saying, or the thought which enters you, or the knowledge you are given. That is what you must be. You must not think of yourself, but only of what you want to learn, and you will see that your capacities will immediately be doubled. What gives most the feeling of inferiority, of limitation, smallness, impotence, is always this turning back upon oneself, this shutting upon oneself in the bounds of a microscopic ego. One must widen oneself, open the doors, and the best way is to be able to concentrate upon what one is doing instead of concentrating upon oneself. These are the divine words of our Divine Mother.
Tu domineras toute la terre de ton amour souverain. Et les consciences seront illuminées de ta sérénité. Telle est la promesse. Thou wilt reign over all the earth with thy sovereign love, and the consciousness of men will be full of the light of thy serenity. This is the promise